Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. I'm Adam Small with Agent Sauce, and with me, as always, is Doug Carr.
Hello, sir.
How you doing today, Doug?
Well, yeah.
Very good. That's very proper of you today. Very proper of you. And also in the studio, we have a special guest, and her name is Angela Allen, and she is a real estate agent, a realtor. And she's actually going to talk to us today a little bit about the American Warrior Initiative and helping vets get VA loans and how that can work well for the vet as well as for the agent. So hello today, Angela.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Great. So let's just kick this off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your history, how you got started with real estate, and maybe even what kind of led you down the path toward veterans.
I was in education prior to real estate, and when I realized that you're basically doomed to poverty.
What? We don't pay teachers enough?
No, that's
No?
another
No.
story.
Oh, okay.
But
A touchy one. didn't
I
mean to
decided
upset
that
ya.
I can work with educating people, and that's kind of like my niche. I like to teach people. And with real estate, there's an opportunity to teach people. And it's the best career move I've ever made. So the more enthusiastic I am, the higher I'm paid. So
Well, that works out well. How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing this going on a little over 2 years now.
2 years. Okay, great. So still a fairly new agent. I mean, 2 years is a good time to get some experience. But, so how did you get into working with veterans? And have you been doing that pretty much from the start?
I started that at the very beginning. I'm very passionate about veterans because of the story that I have about my dad. My dad passed away when I was 6. And he was deemed 100% disabled. And I had to watch my mom and him try to figure out how to navigate the VA system. They're not very good at advertising how to do things. And if you've ever logged onto the VA website, you need a PhD to be able to decipher how to navigate.
Right.
So long story short, we ended up losing our house and having to move to an apartment because of not knowing how to do things. So when I heard that veterans needed housing and that there was loans and programs and things out there for them, and most of the veterans didn't know that they qualified, I thought this would be an opportunity for me to go out and educate and to help veterans get into homes, but also educate other real estate agents and lenders to help reach the veterans and to get away from there's several predatory agencies out there that target veterans, and they pretty much just take their money or take money from the agent itself. And yes, I'm a rabid dog when it comes to those type of things, and trying to get people to understand the difference. It shouldn't cost a veteran money to apply for a loan, and it shouldn't cost a veteran money to use a specific agent.
Okay.
And trying to get the differentiation out there and to help other agents understand the difference.
Okay, great. So part of that, you went through a program run via the American Warrior Initiative. Is that right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the American Warrior Initiative and what they're doing, and then let's talk about what you learned at the program, okay?
Okay. What they're doing is they're trying to help real estate agents understand that working with a veteran is more than just a niche class. It's actually an educating us to work with them on a level that we wouldn't work with other clients. A lot of veterans have moved a lot in their life.
Right. That's part of being in the service.
It's part of being in the service. So it's really not a pleasure to move, and you don't know why they're moving. Are they moving because they have to downsize because they became disabled? There's a lot of things, and it's just to teach us how to be excellent and to provide a level of service that is something that we can be proud of, and to say thank you.
Right.
Without actually going, thank you for our service, but to teach them that there are people out there that truly care. And it's also, there's a lady in Fairway that she decided to start this with a writer named Mr. Parnell, and he's an actual retired military person himself. And there's also the wife of the Navy SEAL, the name escapes me right now, but she wrote a book as well. But
Are you talking about Chris Kyle?
yes,
Yeah,
his
so
wife.
her name would be Taya, right?
Yes, Taya,
Right,
yes.
Kyle, right.
So they've all grouped together to try to educate people in the lending and in the real estate on how to help veterans and veterans' families and the special things that a regular civilian wouldn't understand, and,
Right.
and how to relate to them. And it's a wonderful program. I went through it, and you actually get a CE credit for it. It's actually certified. Last time I went, I've been 2 times now. They give you a book, and you actually get to meet Mr. Parnell, and the money that they raise during this, because you're paying a fee,
Right.
it goes to actually put into funds to actually help veterans. When I was there, I think they raised like $45,000 the one year I did, and it put in a whole room extension for a veteran who needed care because his wife couldn't lift him. He's a double amputee and needed some extra special care with
Right.
with bathing and things like that. So it's more than just a CE. They're actually bringing awareness and raising money to help veterans. So they I think they even bought a house. I think they even purchased a house. I'd have to check the statistics on that. But it's a wonderful program, and they give back to the veterans
Right.
in 2 levels, monetary, and they equip agents like myself into handling transactions with veterans.
Great, great. So now we've been talking about veterans quite a bit. Does it work for active duty as well?
Yes,
or
sir.
does it just apply to veterans? So it does work with active duty. And is there any sort of timeline on that? You know, I mean, I remember when I was I did 4 years in the Marine Corps, and I don't know that I could take advantage of veterans programs at that time. I had to wait until I actually got out. Of course, you've got other people that they're in 16, 20 years, and they were able to take advantage of some of those programs. So does it matter how long you've been in?
There's a criteria, and I brought a lot of the information on it, but there's pretty much, you can go on the website and you can check. But
Well, let's
there
go,
are
let's
active
go with
duty.
what's the website first.
I didn't write it down.
Okay. Well, we'll have to hunt that down. So, which website are you speaking of? The American Warrior Initiative website?
No,
or
I
the
suggest you go to the actual VA website.
VA website, okay.
Any VA website, the va.org, because there, like I said, I'd mentioned before, there are predatorial things, and they have a lot of URLs that will look like the government websites or look like
Right.
the initiative website, and they take you down a rabbit hole you do not want to go into.
Right, right.
So actually check the VA website, the official VA website.
the government one, right?
And all you have to do is do VA mortgages through the VA website, and it'll pop up a whole bunch of information.
Great, great.
And just for everybody, that's if you go to www.benefits.va.gov/home loans.
Okay,
And so we'll put that in the show notes as well.
right. So, thanks for looking that up, Doug. Appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for.
I know, looking up websites. That's your job. All right. So it does work with active duty, which is kind of what I had asked you about before, and then I kind of cut you off with the website thing. You were going to say, from a timeline perspective, working with active duty it's okay. They're more than happy to help you out.
Yes, I have a little bit of information on active duty. If you're now active duty, eligibility can be established after 90 days of continuous active duty, and then upon discharge or release from active duty, eligibility must be established. So you have to be at least 90 days in, and you have to have all of your information, because my son-in-law, he's active duty, and they purchased one. They had to fill out, there's a forms you fill out, and it shows your eligibility, and you can't just sign up and then instantly qualify.
Right,
you,
right.
You have to at least
I
be
remember
90 days in.
I did a VA loan on my first home, and I had to go down to the building downtown here and show them my DD 214 and fill out a form, and it took a little bit of time, and not too long, but they
Right.
gave it back to me or sent it to me or something. It's been 20 plus years. I don't remember now, but it was a process to go through. I recall that. So. So we're talking about VA loans and stuff. Why don't we talk about what exactly a VA loan is and kind of define that for all the people out there, and for the real estate agent, how it's different from some of the other loans, and why it might be better to work with a VA loan as opposed to something in some circumstances.
Well, the VA is a guaranteed government loan. It's kind of like a USDA loan. A USDA loan is a loan that you could get if you lived in the rural communities. And the government is basically saying that we're going to back this loan. If this person does not fulfill the requirements for this loan and they default, the government will then step in and take over that loan.
Right.
And so then it's basically a government guaranteed loan.
So it's from a banking perspective, it's like a guarantee you're not going to lose your money.
Exactly.
Right. Aside from having to be a veteran, are there any restrictions or things that make it a little more complex to work with from a real estate agent perspective?
You couldn't buy a dive, so to speak. It would have to have some type of things. But now, starting July 1st, there's a new thing where you can buy a rehabilitation loan. And a rehabilitation loan, which we all know, it goes up to like 103% of the value of the home for repairs. So there's some math involved. So let's say they wanted a house that they're asking $150,000 and it's appraised at like $200,000 or more. Then that amount in between the asking price that you purchase it for to the appraised value, they can use that amount to repair the home. But if that number does not match, it's a mathematic number, the appraised perceived value after the repairs are done does not match the cost of the loan that they're asking, of course they're going to say no. But any bank would say no for that.
Right. Well, it's got to make sense. You can't walk into a $100,000 home and put a $10 million marble slab or something down, right?
Exactly. So there's some normal parameters in it. It's really no different than a regular loan, but they're just going to be a little bit more diligent. But that diligence is going to happen before it's approved.
Right. Well, and that's good. Do all the hard work up front, right?
Yes.
So what are some of the challenges that veterans face when they're trying to become a homeowner that are kind of unique to them?
Well, everyone knows that there's way more buyers than sellers. When you look at the form that says loans available that the seller is willing to undertake for purchasing the home, not everyone will check that VA box. So that means that there's less inventory for a veteran than there is for a regular civilian.
So what I hear you saying is that when somebody's selling a home, they can choose to not sell it to a veteran if that veteran's going to use a VA loan.
That is correct.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. That's just astounding to me, and it's even more astounding to me that anybody would choose to say, well, I'm not going to sell it to a veteran because they're a veteran. And what I mean by that is, if I'm trying to sell my house, I'm going to take whatever's coming, and take the best offer, the if it's reasonable. And it's not going to matter to me who's buying it, because I'm moving on.
Right.
Right. So it just astounds me that some will choose not to deal with veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm guessing it might not be the veteran in as much as the cost of the house too, and what it's valued at and everything else, because the VA loan has absolute limitations as far as how much you can get for the yeah. So if you had another home that maybe wasn't, outside of the VA, and you had a huge down payment for a house, you could still get the house with a conventional loan. But would you be able to get that with a VA loan?
The VA loan is 100% financed, so you wouldn't have to put any money down.
Right.
And
but as long as the value of the house.
Right.
And
that's where the appraiser comes in. That's all numbers. That's all numbers.
So that's what I'm saying. Like if you were in some
$10 million home.
Yeah, some ritzy neighborhood or whatever, and you were selling your house above what it was valued at, trying to get that, you're not going to be able to.
You're not going to get a VA loan on that. Yeah.
But you might sucker somebody else. But that's part of the good thing of the VA loan is that they're going to absolutely check the value of the house and make sure that it's.
It's true with all the other loans too.
Yeah.
The only time they don't check is if it's a cash sale.
Right.
But the VA loan is actually it's a benefit. It's a veteran's benefit, and it's like a person is given free dental or 401k money or pension money, and then that's the miscommunication of what people misunderstand it to be. They think a VA loan is like veterans and civilians tend to think it's like some type of welfare or some type of gifts because they're poor, and it's not. It's their benefit. They earned that. It's part of their pay.
And their income doesn't affect that at all.
It's
really
guaranteed.
The only time the income affects it is, are they able to in fact afford a loan of that amount? It's not a matter of hey, you make too much money for a VA loan or
it's based on your income, and the VA knows how much money you make. It's all pay grade. They know exactly how much, and then they just tell you the criteria. You can look between here and here.
Right, just like any other loan. So.
That is correct.
Great. So what are some of the benefits of a VA mortgage for a VA loan for the active duty member or the veteran? Let's talk about that, and then also from a real estate perspective, working with that type of person.
The advantages of the active member is now you can actually, if you have a house and you're being transferred, they have a program that allow you to roll so you'd do like a dual closing. So you'd close on one house and you turn around and close on the other. Years back, you would have had already sold the other home before you could even apply for the VA.
Oh, okay.
So that this way, it also, since it's 100% finance, it also keeps their out-of-pocket cost down, and it just helps them with being able to relocate and relocate fast. If you know how to handle a VA loan and you know how to handle a VA purchase agreement, you can pretty much streamline those. Some lenders can do them between as soon as 21 days. I worked with a lender. We had to get
Wow.
a veteran move fast, and we had it in 15 days. That's where the education of handling a VA mortgage comes into play.
So for the veteran, you say it's 100% financed, which is great because, especially with military pay, it sometimes could be hard to accumulate a down payment. What about closing costs? Can you roll the closing costs into the loan as well?
Yes, you can. There's a percentage. There's always a number, and there's a percentage. And usually, what I've had success in doing is writing it for that amount above the purchase price.
Okay.
And then you also have to be aware of what you suspect the appraisal price is going to be,
Right.
because sometimes you have to kind of squeak numbers a little bit. So you have to be very careful about knowing what you think the house is going to appraise with a good CMA. I've even sent letters to the selling agent explaining that earnest money is pretty much ceremonial.
Right.
This is a guaranteed loan, and I'm letting you know that this loan is going to go through. It's not a gamble.
Right.
And to even have the down payment as low as the earnest money, $100.
Right. Right.
And then by the time you figure out the cost of what they have to do, the appraiser, some lenders will make the veteran pay the appraiser, which is about $550. I make sure that the appraiser, the lender, I make sure I use the lenders that will take that $550 out at closing. So that's not something up front. And now that it's not mandated that you have to have an inspection, it's always good to have one, but it's not mandated that you have to. So then they need that about $300 to $500 for that inspection, depending on whether there's well water or septic. So you can always put those costs into above the purchase price so that the veteran will get that money back at closing.
Right.
And I found the magic numbers around $3,600 seems to be the magic number. So write the offer for about $3,600 above the asking price, and then use that for the veteran. And then at closing, they'll get their if they've had to pay up front, and their inspection money. That way they get that back at closing.
Right. So
They'll even get their earnest money back at closing.
So they're not
that
really
way
out anything
Exactly.
out of pocket.
they might a
it's
little
the
bit
loan.
up front,
Right.
depending on
It's
some.
temporary though.
Yeah, it's temporary,
Right,
but they'll get
right.
that. It's nothing's more exciting than seeing them get their money back at closing, because they might have sold something to
Right.
to get that money to go up front. But it's just a matter of numbers. You have to know your numbers, and the key is working with a really good lender that knows how to do VA loans, not just VA friendly. I suggest you actually interview the lender and make sure that they actually know how to handle veterans. I won't drop any names, but there's a couple of lenders out there that will actually give coins to the veteran when they complete the transaction. And if you're a veteran, you understand the importance of the coin.
Right.
And so they also know how to work with the veteran and how to help the agent write the offer so that the offer is good and will fly with the VA administration.
Good. Well, that's great. Okay, so what other kind of programs are available for veterans or those that are on active duty?
They change and they vary. I strongly suggest you connect with the local VA administration, American Legion, and the VFW. James Morrison, not the musician, he's like third in line with the governor of Indiana, and he has a program that's trying to bring veterans to Indiana. And if you send his administration a letter or an email, and you have a company here in Indiana that's willing to pay the moving costs of a veteran from another state to Indiana, you let them know they will reimburse that company the moving cost and relocation cost to do that. And that even includes if they lost any money on the sale of their home, transportation cost, and down payment assistance, because sometimes there is some, you have to pay for the appraiser and things like that. That but that employer will be reimbursed up to a certain amount of stipend amount, but that's through James Morrison. And then there's also some different programs that the key is just to connect with the American Legion and the VFW, but there's some other programs that are here in Indiana and exclusive to bring veterans and able to actually help them move.
Right. And there were probably some in every state as well. You know?
There
So
is.
I think that the key point, what you just said there, was contact the American Legion or the VFW and talk to them, because they
Talk to
probably
them
have
in
quite a bit of
person.
information about that.
Talk to them in person, and
Okay.
please avoid looking online, because there's, like I said, there's so many scams out there, and they target veterans, and they will seem legit until you've lost everything.
What are some of the? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's probably a good idea that every county has a veteran service officer too,
Yes.
and so it's probably a good idea for you to look that person up and ask them, for recommendations as well.
Right. I was going to ask you, you've mentioned scams and predators a couple of times here. So
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the indicators or the tells that this is a scam and not legitimate?
You can pretty much any 501c3, you can check online what their status is.
Mm-hmm.
You can also, supposedly you can check to see what their pay is. That is if they put it up there. But also you can check, just type it in. There's watchdog websites and everything, and just type in the website and just say, is there any scams or anything like that? But there are some of them that they market themselves as being from USAA.
Uh-huh.
And they're not even affiliated with it, but it's an actual lending company, and they will tell the veteran, if you qualify with us and we get you the VA loan, we will partner you with an agent. Well, that agent, not knowing, is contacted, and they will help the veteran get in the home. Well, it's embedded in the contract that you don't even see, because it's signed between the lender and the purchaser. So when you get to closing, you're out $1,900 or more as an agent, just so that veteran can get $250 at closing. And I've had 2 of those happen to me, because they claim they're USAA,
Right.
and they actually sell the loans before they even get to closing to another company that's not even in the United
so you
States.
as the
Or
agent aren't getting your commission? Is that what you're telling
that's
me?
correct. We're forfeiting $1,900 or commission, because they're considering that as a referral fee, and the veteran does not know that they've went on to this link that looks like it says USAA,
Right.
and it's not. It's another company. It's actually ran by a real estate agent who is doing this, and I tried to fight it and I couldn't. So by me helping an agent, helping a veteran, I had to forfeit 2 times in excess of $1,900.
That's outrageous. So as an agent, what can you do to prevent that from happening to you?
Make sure that when you have the communications with the lender, to ask up front, is there any contract or anything that you have entered in with the buyer that shows that the agent has to share any commission? Is this considered a referral or any type of referral fee involved? And ask them to show you in writing if there is, and then actually read it, because you don't know.
Right,
You just
right.
think that you're getting a phone call because you've done such a great job at helping another veteran, that it's an honor that they're asking you to do it.
Right.
And there's really no forms until you get to closing.
Wow, that's just
It's true.
outrageous. Yeah. So, all right, great. Doug, you got any other questions?
I don't. I found a cool thing on the VA site though. They actually have blogs on the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and so they had 10 facts that people didn't realize about VA loans that are pretty interesting. So, like you said, no down payment, but the other one is no mortgage interest or insurance.
Right, you don't have to pay the PMI.
No PMI,
No
right?
PMI.
So they said basically you can get $30,000. The average person get like $30,000 more home.
Because they're not
Because-
having to cover that
yeah,
PMI.
because they
And
don't have to
PMI's
cover that.
average is like $151 a month usually.
Yeah. Wow.
You said it. You can use the benefit over and over again. The benefit never expires. Surviving spouses may be eligible. Loan rates are typically lower. Of course, you said VA loans are available from local lenders. You talked about refinancing, so you covered all of these. And then there's lenient guidelines for lower credit scores, bankruptcies, and foreclosures, funding fee waivers, and their last one was that you can buy a condo as well with VA
Yep,
loans.
condos. And they're opening it up to some types of manufactured homes as long as they're anchored down.
Oh.
And then there's also a clause too that at the inspection and everything that's standard. So if they had to get out of it because the appraiser or lending or something else happened, it's a guaranteed get their earnest money back if there was any earnest money, and that's something that's enforced by the VA.
Right. Interesting. So if the deal falls through for certain reasons, then they can get their earnest money back.
That is correct.
Nice.
It's like an extra layer of protection.
Right. So one more question before I ask, two more questions, I guess. One, can you use a VA loan for a second home? A lot of retired people will have a summer home in Florida or Phoenix or something like that. So can you use a VA loan on a second home, second residence?
I believe you can if you can show that you're using that way. I haven't read the new guide. See, the thing is, I haven't read all the new guidelines
'cause
that
there are new ones
affected
coming out in
July.
July, right.
Right.
Okay.
But I know that there's something in there because I know that there's some military personnel that have to live in two different places. But
Right.
I know that there is some type of provision.
That allows for that?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then, so if other agents want to get involved with helping out, veterans or active duty military, what are some of the things that they can do?
Go contact your local Veterans Administration person and sit down and have a one-to-one. They would love to sit down and talk to an agent and explain the benefits of a VA mortgage.
Okay. And if they wanted to go through the same program that you went through with the American Warrior Initiative, just look up the American Warrior Initiative online.
Yes, or contact their local Fairway. I'm not endorsing or anything Fairway, but they do
Right.
have their great programs. So you just contact any Fairway mortgage representative, and they'll connect you to the link.
Okay, great.
I did find I did some searching on the vacation home thing. Technically, no, it's supposed to be a primary residence, but they said that if your primary residence is paid off, you can absolutely use a VA loan on the second home.
Oh, okay. Great.
See, I knew there was a provision.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Doug, you got anything else to add?
No, you were talking about some of the changes. I'm curious, how often does the VA loan program change? Is it every few years, or is it
Not as big a deal as this year.
Okay.
Usually the changes are they remove things, but this year they added a lot of benefits that I thought was cool because they allow to refinance. They've allowed more for refinancing, building new homes, the rehabilitation, the adding of the condo, and certain types of manufactured homes, depending on because you buy a plot of land.
Yeah.
That type of thing where it has like a foundation. Before, it didn't matter what it was. They didn't allow that at all. So there's a lot of new things, and I strongly suggest somebody sitting down and reading it. It's a good boring read, but it helps you be able to help more veterans find more homes. It opens up the market more for them.
Great.
I'll tell you one that probably not a lot of people have experienced, but I went through of course, a wonderful divorce.
That
But I
happens.
lost my home, and it was a VA loan, and they did what was called a VA compromise sale, which was another wonderful benefit because if it was a typical bank, I would have gone to collections and and everything else, and a VA compromise sale basically said, hey, the VA will say you can get rid of this home as long as you get this much money for it. And so we were able to kind of do a quick sale and get out from under it. And we had just bought the home, so it was devastating to us. But
Right.
but it's just another one of those great things about the program that you don't realize, and realtors should realize that too. That if they have a family that's in trouble financially or whatever, and they need to get out from it, that's a possibility.
VA's going to work
there.
with them.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Great. Angela, any final thoughts?
I don't have any final thoughts at all right now.
All right. Well, great. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you have any questions, want to contact us, you can contact us at info@agentsauce.com. Thanks for listening and have a great day.